Hello, everyone. This is Rhanderson Cardoso from the MetaCast, the podcast of the Meta-Analyses Academy. We're here in Chicago for the American Heart Association scientific meeting, and I have the honor to host for this podcast Esther Benitez. She's a resident here in Chicago. She's done a lot of research through meta-analysis. She's one of the stars of the Meta-Analyses Academy, and she's going to share with us her journey of doing residency, coming to the United States as an international medical graduate, as an IMG, then doing research, the challenges of residency, and now application for cardiology fellowship. So Esther, I'm really glad that you're joining us today. Thank you so much. And before I transition to you, congratulations on all the great work you've done so far. Would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yes. No, thank you so much. It is my pleasure to be here. So I'm Esther. I am originally from Paraguay, but I was raised in Brazil. Currently, I'm doing my internal medicine residency in Paraguay, so I'm a third year right now, and I'm applying to cardiology.
Nice. So let's start there with cardiology fellowship applications.
Yes.
So the day we're recording this, it's almost the day to certify the rank order list. And how many interviews did you have? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What's the feeling at this time?
Yes, very exciting and nervous, but at the same time, I'm very happy and grateful. I'm already done with my interviews. And I think that, I had a good number. I had 13 interviews. And just waiting now for the matches. First is going to be submitting the ranking. That is going to be Wednesday. Yeah. Today is Sunday. And then
3 days.
Yes. And then match day, December 4th.
Wow. So that's 2 weeks from now. That's incredible. And Esther, what are the things that are going through your mind? Obviously, without going into details and into the programs, but what are the things that you're considering as you certify this rank order list? Is it like geography, the city, or academic, subspecialty training available in that program, or just a mix of all of these?
A mix of all of that. But I think that during this process, you do a lot of introspection of what are the things that you're looking for, how do you see yourself, and while you also prepare to answer to those questions during the interviews, because they're going to ask you. When you prepare, you think a lot about that. It is, of course, this location, but also it is like the program, if you want to go to academic program, and what do you want to do next, and specialty, and then also where do you see practicing in the future, if it's like academia, private. So all of those things you take into consideration.
That's nice. So you have you have a good number of interviews. 13 is quite a bit. Those were all remote, I suppose, or?
Where most of them were remote, but I also had to travel for others. Yes.
Yeah, just a few years ago, before pandemic, of course, like we would be traveling around for all those interviews. I think I did 12 or 13, some very close number, and it was like traveling all over the U.S. for that.
I can't imagine how
you may have done that for residency.
I did not.
Oh, it was already.
I applied it was the first. The first year that we did virtual.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in training is essentially during or after COVID.
Yes, it is.
All right. So anyway, back to application. You as an IMG, you and I, we always are looking forward and also a little bit concerned we'll be able to make it. Is it any different when you're applying for fellowship than residency, in the sense that maybe now you're comfortable, you've done training in the US, you've gone through the system, let's put it that way, for 3 years as a resident. Did you feel more confident this time around, or you were still going to these interviews in a similar way as you did as a resident?
I think it's different because when I apply as an IMG, first you're outside, you don't know how is the system, and then you also don't feel as confident, probably because of imposter syndrome as well. I still have that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think we never get rid of that. Totally. But now, after seeing how the system works here, after having practice and experience, and I think that I also work a lot on my CV. Since my first year, I was focused on research. I did not have a research background at all. I think that as an IMG, it's very difficult for us to do research back home. There's not many people involved. There's also not much budget, and also it's not that you can have like your PI. And so when I came to the US, I knew that I need to work on that because I already wanted to do cardiology as a fellowship. So that was my goal. I started my residency, and then it was not research heavy. It's more clinical. So I tried to connect with other attendings, and I didn't find that many people involved. And because I also have a lot of connection with the Brazilian community. That's also how I found about Meta-Analysis Academy. I don't really remember how it was. I think it was probably about Instagram. I think the first time I remember the first time that I knew about it was in Paraguay. It was the first group I was applying at that time to internal medicine residency. That was the first, I think it was in 2022. Yeah. And then when I came to the US, as a first year resident, already signed up for the group. I couldn't do it because I was on ICU at that time. So I went back, but then on the second, I think it was the third group, I signed up, and then I applied to the expert group, and that was just publishing after that. It was just working with all the other people in the group, with the expert, and yeah. I think I forgot about the question.
What a journey it's been. No, it's great. You brought up some interesting points I wanted to discuss here. So the application for fellowship, just to wrap that up, how do you see it different than the application for residency in terms of the most important components?
Yeah, so that was where I was going. So it's different now because I feel more confident, specifically because of research. So during my application to cardiology now, I had a great CV. Also, because I started publishing, I also was invited to be peer reviewer as well.
Nice.
So all of those things I had in my CV that we had, the interviews were also asking their needs. So I felt much confident as well.
I think that one major difference between applying for fellowship, applying for residency, in addition to what you've mentioned, that you just build more confidence, you've met more people by the very nature of having been a resident here, I think is that there's a lot less weight on the score, specifically step 2 score now as you apply for fellowship, and a lot more weight on the CV, on the research. For example, you mentioned that the minute you started residency, which wasn't that long ago, you were trying to survive, you were trying to understand your rotations, trying to learn how to be an internal medicine doctor, but you were already thinking about research. And that happened to me also. That's actually when I started doing research publications, meta-analysis as a resident in Miami. It's just because time goes by so fast and you're very busy as an intern working, 1 million hours a week, and you're trying to learn one rotation, then you go to the next one, you don't know anything again. But in the middle of all of that, you have to publish. You still have to publish to get into at least a competitive fellowship like cardiology. And it's very important because you do need it for application for fellowship. It's one of the most important components on your application. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. So that's also what happened. I was trying to survive as a first year intern, getting to know about the system, but at the same time I was so worried about research. Like I want to do cardiology. What I have to do to build out my CV? I'm already here. So I was looking for opportunities. And so that's how I started working and started to publish.
Yeah, and just so people understand the timeline of this, internal medicine residency is 3 years. And you start a program in July, first year. Like we were just saying, it's very busy, it's very chaotic. You're going from one rotation to the other. Everything is new for the first year. You go from internal medicine wards to then ICU and then to night floats, and every new rotation is a challenge. But then from that moment on, you essentially have about 2 years before you're applying again for fellowship, because you apply in the early days of third year.
Yes.
So it's only about 2 years. And if it's like I joined residency with very little research, also coming from Brazil, you from Paraguay. I joined residency with very little research, but the clock was ticking for that fellowship application. A lot of pressure, don't you think?
It is. And you don't even realize, like after, the first year ends and then comes second year and you're I think that around half a second year, you already start, preparing your application. And then now, and also when you think about the conferences that you have to present, you have to present and be accepted your abstract before by the conference. So by the time that you have to apply the conference, if you didn't get to that deadline, you won't be able to present to that conference. So it's like it goes, past so fast. Now I didn't even realize that when I was on my second year, I already had to start thinking about my application and
Now we've talked a lot about the challenges. Let's talk about the wins. You know, so you have 13 interviews. You clearly did something right. You know, so what were you able to, in terms of just results? What were you able to get published, or a number of abstracts presented in conferences during these years as a resident?
So publications, I had 4 or 5 manuscript published. One is still under review, and then that is almost like a second review, third review. Right. Yeah, and then there's other more that are under review. But abstracts, I believe that many, because we were working with many other, in this research group. So first also author or co-authoring with them as well. I think that around 15, 16, I don't even remember anymore.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Did this come up during your interviews, your research?
A lot.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And I even, now you have how your application is that you have 10 experiences. So I put the Meta-Analysis Academy as one of my experiences as well.
Nice.
So everybody was curious about it, what it is and how did you learn about it. And I saw that you publish a lot of meta-analysis, because most of my research were meta-analysis.
Right.
And then everybody was asking, and then they were very interested about the amount of publications and the quality. And then in one interview, when I started talking, I got so excited about it. And then the interviewer was like, "Oh, I see that you're very passionate about it. I really love that."
That's funny. Yes. That's great. You know, by the way, that's a good prognostic factor. One of our students from last cycle, her name is Denilsa. She's applying for residency, not fellowship, but she matched into internal medicine residency. And the program director where she matched, when she interviewed her, again, there was similar to what you just described. We're tell me more about this. Yes. And the conversation just kicked off. And then she matched at that place. She had a great publication as first author talking about use of anticoagulation with the NOACs in patients who are on dialysis. It was a good paper. She was first author, and it worked. She matched. Yes. You know? Good. And walk us a little bit through the challenges of that you mentioned earlier on, of doing medical school in Paraguay, and then trying to do research there. Were you aware during medical school that it was such an important component for your career as an internal medicine applicant, then cardiology applicant, or it really wasn't something that was front and center when you were going for medical school?
No, I knew it was very important, especially coming to the U.S. But when I was applying to internal medicine, I honestly didn't have the tools and was not that involved in research. And I always thought, okay, when I go probably to the U.S., I could do a research fellow, or I could do research during my residency. That didn't happen also because of the pandemic. So the borders were closed. I couldn't even do a clerkship, an observership, extra during my application. So I was really focused on having good scores for my steps. So I honestly got really good scores.
Good.
And that was my main, I gave everything, to my scores. So I think that's one of the reasons why I got, I matched. But then when I started residency, I knew that I needed to focus on research.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do any rotations at all because of the timing of the pandemic and all of that? Did you do any rotations at all before you applied?
I did in Jackson Memorial. Yeah, I did the Harrington program. Yes.
Okay, which program?
The Harrington.
Oh yeah, yes. The Harrington program. Absolutely. Which rotation did you do there?
I did CCU and cardiology consult.
Wow, those are good rotations. I did cardiology consults. as an observer. I was a fifth-year medical student. Wow, gosh, this was forever ago.
Yes.
This was 2011. I was a fifth-year medical student. But, speaking of Miami, it's a great place for people to do observerships. I'm hoping, and I'm sure you had a good experience there.
No, it is amazing.
Yeah, it's an observership, but you actually get to be a good part of. You get to participate a lot. They give you opportunities to showcase your work. So people are always asking me where do you do observerships? Go to Miami. Miami is a good place to do that.
It is, and they're like, there's many IMGs, so it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I many of you already know, but I did my internal medicine residency in Miami. Another great program, for internal medicine residency, very busy clinically, like what you did, like the program that you did. And then again, same challenges. You're very busy, but you need to get research done to go on to the next step of your career.
Yes.
Looking back into like when you matched coming from Paraguay, what was that period of adjustment like? Many people listening are considering residency in the United States. I think that's one of the main reasons why people tune in and want to and are interested in the Meta-Analysis Academy is like coming to the United States is a strong motivation for that. And they want to hear from you. Like, what was it like coming from Paraguay and starting residency here? What was that transition like?
It was, of course, it was difficult adjusting to the system, epic, language barrier. Even though you feel comfortable, it's completely different. Like presenting the patients, it's really evidence-based here in the U.S. That was one of the reasons that I decided to come here. I learned more about that during the Rhanderson program. And then also like ICU was very challenging because basically we take care of, we during night, I was terrified about nights in ICU. And then, wait.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. That first year as an intern, as a resident, it's really busy, and there's also the period of adjustment for us as international medical graduates. So I started. I remember when I started off in like this rotation called transplant nephrology that we had in Jackson, and patients were sick. We were managing immunosuppression and checking prograph levels, and like I didn't know any of this. And you're an intern, and you're trying to learn the EPIC, which is the electronic medical record. It's so tough in the beginning. And besides the workload, besides these challenges, was the workload surprising? Was it more than you expected? Was it less than you expected? Was it manageable? Just, knowing that it was a clinically oriented program where you did your residency.
It was manageable. I think that, during, when I was an intern, we had a 10 patients cap.
10, okay.
Yeah, so I think it was manageable. Of course, like getting used to Epic, it was very challenging. Putting the orders. I remember that in my first year, I put an order of vancomycin and I put the dose, I put the time and everything. And then my senior was like, no, it's pharmacy to dose. And I had no idea that it was pharmacy to dose vancomycin. So all of those things I didn't know, like how to put the orders. I think the Epic was very challenging. But then it was like we have 1 day off per week usually on the floors. And then if we go to an elective, we have weekends off, and clinic was great as well. And I think that I really like clinic because you have weekends off and you see your patients in the morning or in the afternoon. So I think that comparing to back home, I cannot complain. Like the workload is very manageable.
Yeah.
It's challenging, it's away from home. It is language, and also you feel like you have to give your most, like for patients, you have to study, like we have access to UpToDate. So that's something that I try to do, like while I manage this, I try to read and then study while I see the patients. So yeah, you're constantly learning. But the learning curve is very steep. Like without even you notice, you already managing and you learn so much. But at the beginning, it would take me forever, like to write my notes. I would stay longer to finish my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a challenge, as you said, but also just a few months will go by, like 6 months go by in residency, and you're like a whole new person. You're like, how do I know how to do this?
Exactly.
You go to the ICU, same thing. You usually do 4 weeks in the ICU. and a rotation, and then at the end you're like you're know about the vent, and you know about ABGs, and you know about blood, like it's you do procedures, so like the learning curve is very steep as a resident. Again, just because our audience, a lot of people are interested in experience as residents. What was that transition from first year to second year, PGY1 to PGY2, where now you're the senior, you're making more decisions, you obviously still have your attending to call, but you don't want to call for everything. A lot of us struggle in that challenge from intern, because just by the time you get comfortable with being an intern, now you switch roles again. What was that like for you?
I think that the second year is the most challenging because from first year, you still feel that you're covered by your senior. You can ask them at the end, like you just manage, and your first year you just try to survive, try to learn how the system works, but you still rely on your senior, how to do the assessment and plan. As a senior, you are managing the patients. You're responsible to not just the patients, but also your intern. And also, like here in the US, it's not like, the second year second and third year, they're seniors both. It's not that your third year is like above you. So we're both equal. And then I think that ICU for me was very scary because on nights is senior and intern who takes care of the patients. So it depends on you. All the vents, Impella, intraortic balloon pump, you manage all of that. You titrate the inotropes. So it was terrifying. I was terrified of all nights. Yes.
Yeah. Did you get your letters to apply for fellowship from attendings that your medicine attendings, you're from cardiology that you rotated with?
Yes. So I got my letters from my program director, associate PD, and then we also have cardiology in my program. So I had a mentor and in cardiology, and I also got my letter from him.
What would you say are the key elements for people to stand out as a resident? I'm sure you've worked with excellent, extraordinary residents, yourself included in that, I'm sure, and then others that maybe didn't have such a strong reputation. Like, what do you think sets apart people who stand out in residency?
I think it's having a good attitude to work. It's not expected for you to know everything. But I think that the most important thing is that you have a good attitude to work, to teach, and also like to do the extra, to take that extra step. They really appreciate that. And also, like, when you have your senior, you want him to be helpful, to be there for you. And also as a senior, like you expect, your senior, your intern, if he has like he's positive, he's not complaining. I think that those are the main things that are important.
Totally.
And the attendings, they notice it when you're there, like trying to help. So I think that that's the main important thing.
Yeah, I agree. Having a positive attitude, being happy, being grateful, being proactive, and not complaining. All the things you said, being a team player, are sort of like it's not the most obvious thing, but it makes such a difference. Yeah. I was a chief, as you know, and then we used to do Monday meetings where we would evaluate the residents. And there was a chunk of residents we discussed every meeting. We called it CCC. We'd spend an hour or two discussing about residents. And I noticed that as we commented on like clinical competency, which is, of course, very, very important. You have to be a good doctor. But then also, whenever people had this positive attitude and they like helped each other out and they were good educators and they were always, doing something for the others in a good mood, people would tend to like minimize or understate their challenges, like their difficulties. And sometimes, on the other hand, also, if you had those positive attitudes, people would praise you. Like they would really speak highly of you, even though sometimes there were shortcomings in other areas. So I think that's really one important thing. And then the other one is doing research. I think just this is the same way we talked about. It helps you for the future fellowship application. It also helps you to stand out as a resident. I'm sure people notice, that you're coming to AHA and presenting your abstracts and that you're publishing papers, that the word gets around. People start to notice you. Do you think?
Yes, I think so. I when I started working on research presenting, I saw that many people were also reaching out to me and asking me how I did that, how I presented, and then also got to know about the Meta-Analysis Academy. Actually, there are like many people from my program who sign up.
Thanks to you.
I think that like, I don't know, like more than 10 people already sign up to the Meta-Analysis Academy. And I'm happy as well about that because I know they're going to have success as well on that. I work with close friends on papers that I was doing. So they also presented. One of my best friends, he's interested in critical care. He also signed up to meta-analysis course. He presented a chest, one paper that I helped him. And I don't know, I feel very happy that I could also help other people with this. And now the ones who are applying as well to cardiology, they also reach out to me asking me to help them. So yeah, research definitely makes difference. And I think that you learn a lot during the process. Like you learn a lot about yourself, like how much you can learn and how much you can achieve. And for example, during one of my papers, I had to learn how to use R to do an experimental regression. So there's a lot of learning opportunities inside research and also collaborating with others. And also at the end, you can also help other people. So I think there's so many opportunities inside research.
Yeah.
And definitely makes difference. And people notice and people see that. So yeah, I'm very happy about that as well. And that also like makes you to be different. Like just today, one of my friends in the conference, I told, yeah, it's presenting these. I work with another friend on this presentation. And he just told me, oh, keep doing what you're doing. You're an example for us. So I think that's very happy. I mean, makes me very happy.
Sure, as it should. I mean, It's incredible what you've done. And that's actually how the Meta-Analysis Academy started, by the way. Just a quick story is that I always did meta-analysis since I was a resident, first year like yourself, and then people started to notice. And they like, can you show me? Or can I help you? How can I be a part of your group?
Yes.
And I started teaching people, and I saw that it worked. It was very reproducible. People were also able to do the same thing that I'm doing once they learned the method. And, looking back on that, this has been like 10 years now. Looking back, those people that started doing with me, they've matched at, Massachusetts General. They matched at Emory. They've like went on to do great things in their career. Again, because research and publications help you get there. And then I created Meta-Analysis Academy because it had worked with me, it had worked with others that I taught like on a one-on-one basis. And then thanks to you and so many others, now we know that it works like in this large scale, like teaching a lot of people at the same time. And speaking of that, I want to ask you, what was the actual learning experience? A lot of people listening have not yet had a chance to do the program. You were busy as a resident, as you said yourself, but you still decided to do our program. What was it like? What were the challenges? What was what you enjoyed about the program, and just what your experience was like in the Meta Academy?
It was challenging, of course, but it was, the classes were so easy to learn. And the videos, and also we had the virtual, the live classes, and then we had the tutoring. So it was very easy to ask questions. And also I participated of the expert program, and I had Camila Guida, who was my mentor, and we are, great friends now. I love her so much. And we would have these meetings as well with the entire group. We would, after residency, after my day, I would go home and meet with them. And we would like meet for like 2 hours, 3 hours. I remember we had one meeting, it was like 5 hours meeting, just like talking about research, and like, because each one of us were doing one paper. So we were like discussing about that, and then discussing each other's papers. And so it was challenging, and also keeping up with the homework. But for example, for me, what I could say is that the first year I was not able to do the homework. Then when I did it I signed up a second time. It was totally worth it. And then on my second time, I realized that I should just start working on my idea. So that's what I did. I had my idea, and while I was doing my paper, I was watching the video. So it's much helpful because you are putting that into practice. So while I was doing my paper, I was watching the videos, and that was the first meta-analysis that I presented at the AHA, that it was also with this expert group. So I think that I learned a lot. And then when I needed to start doing some extra analysis, I had to learn how to use R. That for me was so challenging. My brother, he's an engineer, and he used R all the time. And I always saw him like coding. And I remember that I thought, oh my God, this looks impossible. This looks so difficult. And then I learned with the Meta-Analysis Academy, and I was so happy about that. So I had to learn how to do it, and for another paper. So when I needed to use it, I saw the videos and I learned as well, and I did it. So yeah, it was difficult, but it was totally worth it. And also, I think that the main thing about Meta-Analysis Academy is that everybody is so nice. Like, everybody wants you to succeed and cares about you. Yeah. And I think that in medicine, like, people are really competitive, and sometimes it's hard to find that people who actually want to work with you. Like, I had so many people that would just invite me, hey, I'm working on this. Do you want to participate? Or can you help me with this? Like, I know that you're good with this. Can you help me with that? So we are helping each other. So I think that that's the main good thing, and that I value about the Meta-Analysis Academy, and see that everybody is focused on the same thing. They want to succeed. They want to be better. They want to publish. And also we have this family, I believe. And then I have a great group of friends with Camila, Andre, Anna. They were all from my expert group. And I didn't meet in person Andrea and Anna yet because they are in med school in Brazil. But I met Camila Guida twice already in the conference. So when we see each other as well in the conference, it's amazing. So I think that I learned a lot. And also at the end, I think that the main thing about also this experience that you always know that you can learn more. And even though you have a busy schedule, as I had in residency, like you can also like always achieve more and be more organized with your time as well. I knew that after residency, I had to go home. Like I had to see the videos, work on my research. And then some people would tell me, you're so organized with your time. You do so many things. But actually, I feel like I'm not. But when you have more things to do, you are like more organized. I mean, you have no choice.
Yeah. It's like people who are studying for step one and they think they don't have time to watch the class and do research. But then I forgot who it was the other day. I think I interviewed someone who said, I love doing both at the same time because it made me more productive. I had to get both things done, and when you're a resident, you have to do research. You figure it out. You do the nights, you do weekends. But then the good thing about the meta-analysis is that the results come. You see the results, right? In a relatively short period of time. And 1 to 2 years, you already have all these publications. You said more than 15 abstracts presented at conferences. It's really remarkable. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, I'm very grateful with you as well. Honestly, I think that this community that created with Academy is amazing. And it's helping also like so many IMGs. I think that as an IMG, having this opportunity is great. I mean, to achieve more, because I think that most of us didn't have like a research background. Yeah. So like learning how to do research and having this community is amazing.
And let's talk about why meta-analysis specifically are so helpful. You talked earlier about challenges of trying to do research in Paraguay. It's maybe occasionally hard to find mentors. It may be hard to have access to databases where you can actually do research. And there are so many challenges: lack of institutional support, financial issues. And then a meta-analysis sort of allows you, even in the midst of like busy clinical schedule as a resident, to still do publications. Why do you think that is? Like, why is it that, if you could share, like, why is it that you could do meta-analysis even though you were so busy as a resident?
Well, so I think that meta-analysis is like high evidence publication that you have. And it's you can do by yourself. So you can do independently. And of course you need like a group to have somebody who is also doing a screening with you. But when you learn to do it, you can do it by yourself. So you have like the tools that, you can access to them. that's everything basically that you need. When I started residency, like when I started talking, with other fellows, they told me that were in cardiology, they told me, okay, you have two options, or you have a lot of publications, they're not good quality, or you have like good quality publication, but not that many. So you have or numbers or quality. So they were like, you can do many case reports, but I didn't want to do just case reports because I thought that they wouldn't be as important for my CV.
Right.
So at the end, I was focused on meta-analysis because that was something that I could do it. I didn't need like a PI. I needed the institutional support. I didn't need like a budget. So, and also because of the time, you don't have as much time and you need to publish fast. So if you have the papers, you can publish pretty fast, present to conference, and also publish as a manuscript. People think, like, I remember when I was telling people, oh, I'm working this meta-analysis, they're like, oh my God, but it's going to take months for you to publish. And I was like, no, you can publish pretty fast. Like 1-2 months, you can actually do it if it's like, it's accepted by magazine and then by the journal. So that's the thing. You don't have much time. And with meta-analysis, you can do it. And also you can publish high quality, like independently. So at the end, I think that I had that high quality, and also then I had the numbers as well.
Yeah, with meta-analysis, you get both because you get the impact. I just said it's at the top of the pyramid of evidence. They're highly cited, but then you can also do it quite fast. On some of these 4 papers that you publish, how long has it taken you from developing the idea initially until like submitting it to the journal?
So submitting to the journal, it doesn't take that long. Because I think that 2 of them were the ones that we already presented to the conferences. So we already started working on them. And for example, my first paper that I did in the AHA, it took me like around a month to do it.
From the beginning to
the yeah. And then to submitting, I think that we just finished in 2 more weeks, that we just added more like the introduction. Started like writing the paper and then submitting.
So it's a matter of weeks, from like maybe 5-7 weeks or so.
Yeah.
That's very reasonable. This because, just so people are listening understand, it's because you don't have to collect the primary data, right? You don't have to go and find the patients and open the charts and call the patients and get informed consent. So you can do things quite quickly.
Yeah. Basically, I think that's the thing. What takes more time is the screening. Yeah. Once that you already selected your papers, you just have to extract the data. It's much faster. And then just today got published one. That one of Andrea, like he just texted. He was like co-author. Nice. So like it was like under review for some time. I think that what takes more time is the revision of the journals.
The time that I was referring to, about 5 to 7 weeks, is the time from idea to like doing the actual work, writing the abstract, and then writing the paper. The revision by the journal may take a little bit longer. It's just that's very variable. It depends on the journal. Well, very good, Esther. I'm so excited for your match. It's coming right around the corner in 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm excited to see the next chapters in your wonderful career so far. You've come a long way from Paraguay, huh?
Yeah, it's a long way.
The family must be so proud. They're in Paraguay, right?
My family. My parents are in Paraguay, but then my brothers are all over. One brother's in the UK, the other's in Croatia. So we're all spread.
No, I'm sure your parents are so proud of you. It's really exciting. I know the challenges of being an international medical graduate here and then going into residency with all the challenges that we described, where you're so busy clinically, but you're also thinking about the next step in your career. And I think it's safe to say that you've been very successful in doing a good job clinically because people like you and you've gotten these letters of recommendations, and your program director, I'm sure, is very supportive. And you've done the research, and now you're applying for a fellowship. So again, congratulations. It's a great credit to you.
No, thank you so much. I'm really happy. Now it's just the last steps and just see what happens.
Nice. So just one final word of advice for people who want to come to the United States. They want to follow in your footsteps. They want to do residency or fellowship here. Like, what would you tell them? And because your story is so inspiring.
Well, just to not be scared. Once that you come here, you will have like the support. Just be open, be helpful, good attitude to learn, and do your best during residency. And then I think that getting involved in research is very important. Like if you want to go to a good fellowship, but also if you want to have like a good like evidence-based practice is very important to be a good physician. So I think that taking research to life is something that is very important.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that, obviously. And I encourage you guys to join the Meta-Analysis Academy. So that's it. Esther is a PGY3 internal medicine resident applying in Chicago, applying for fellowship in cardiology, an international medical graduate like myself, like many of you, who's been extraordinarily successful. She has 13 interviews for fellowship, and she's going to have to figure out how to rank them right now.
Yes.
And this was MetaCast, the podcast of the Meta-Analysis Academy. Just one final word. Make sure you guys check out our other content on Instagram at metaanalysis.academy. Also, watch the other episodes from MetaCast. Join our wait list to participate in the next edition of the program, like Esther joined. And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, but everything that we discussed here is not affiliated with Harvard University, where I currently work. It's not affiliated with Esther's program in Chicago. The opinions here are exclusively our own. Thank you so much, Esther. It was great to have you here in MetaCast, the podcast of the Meta-Analysis Academy.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.